everybody. So today we are working with exponential functions. So the very first question is, what is an exponential function? Well, an exponential function is a function whose value is a constant raised to a, and we'll just write power here, to a power. So it is a function whose value is a constant raised to a power. Okay, so the equation for an exponential function is y equals ab to the x. So thinking about this, we've already talked about this. We did this at the beginning of the year. So a is your, y intercept, and b is your change factor. Okay, so right below, I want you to identify a and b for each of these, and then solve them for where x equals -2, where x equals 1/4, 0, and -1/2. Okay, so the very first thing, looking up above, a is what's out in front. So what's the first thing? 4. So a equals 4. B is just 16. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm just going to write here, hey, I'm doing x equals -2. I'm going to take my equation from above, so 4 times 16 to the -2nd. Now this one we can do on our own. So thinking about this, we have 4 over, what is 16 squared? That is 256. Do not forget our exponent rules. If you have a negative exponent, that just means, hey, it should go down to the bottom. Now we can simplify this sum. 4 goes into both of these, so it'll be 1 over 64. So that is my answer. Now let's try that again with 1/4. So we have 4 times 16 to the 1/4 power. Okay, thinking about this, we have 4 times 1/4 power is just the 4th root of 16. So let's think about this. What times itself 4 times gives me 16? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So I have 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So when x is 1/4, then the answer is 8. Now let's do x equals 0. So we have 4 times 16 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is just 1. So what's 4 times 1? It's just 4. So that is that answer. The last one is x equals 1/2, or -1/2, sorry. Okay, so we have 4 times 16 to the -1/2 power. Okay, so this is the square root of 4, right? Or of 16. So that's going to tell me I have 4 on top. I want to change this negative, so I'm going to put square root of 16 on the bottom. So I have 4 over 4, which is just 1. Okay, so looking at this next one, a. What's going to be a here? We could call a just -1. It's just, that's what number's out in front. I don't see anything that's multiplied to that 4x. B can just be +4. Okay, so now again, x equals -2, so we have -4 to the -2nd. So that tells me that I'm going to have -1 over 4 squared, so that is -1 over 16. Okay, cool. Let's try the next one. So x equals 1/4. So we have -4 to the 1/4. So that tells me that I have -4, or the 4th power of 4. So let's think about this. Can I do anything with that? No. So that's my final answer. So I have -4th root of 4. The next one, we have x equals 0. So I have -4 to the 0. Well, anything to the 0 power is just 1. So I'm going to call this one -1. Because of the fact that I said that negative, it wasn't in parentheses. If it would have been -4 with parentheses around it to the 0 power, then it would be +1. But that negative just rides along no matter what. Now x equals negative 1/2. So I have negative 4 to the negative 1/2. So that's the same thing as saying negative 1 over the square root of 4, which is negative 1 over 2. Okay, so go ahead and try out this next one and see what you get. Well, first, what is A? A is 12. B is 1/16. Okay, so now I want you to plug in x is negative 2, x is the fourth, x is 0, x is negative 1/2. We will see if we get the same answers. Okay, so we should have gotten 3,072, 6, 12, and 48. So go ahead and take a look at that. Just make sure that you got those same exact answers. Okay, so let's go ahead to the next page. This time, I want to write the equation of the exponential function that passes through the given 2 points. So, remembering that exponential functions are a times b to the x. Well, can't I go ahead and plug in some points here? So I know y, so this is x and this is y, right? So I know 10 equals, I don't know what a is, don't know what b is, but I know x is 0. Well, what is anything to the 0 power? It's 1. So I have 10 equals a times 1, or I'm just going to write a. So a is 10. Now let's try that again with the other one. So let's plug in that 490 for our y equals 10 times b to the second. Okay, so we're going to divide both sides by 10. So I have 49 equals b squared. I'm going to do square root to get rid of that squared. So I have 7 equals b. We're just going to assume that it is positive every single time. So my final equation is y equals 10 times 7 to the x power. Okay, let's go ahead and try this next one. So we have 7 equals a times b to the 0. So 7 equals a. 1701 equals 7 times b to the 5th. Divide by 7. That's going to give me 243 equals b to the 5th. Now I'm going to take the 5th root of both sides. So I'm going to get 3 equals b. So my final answer is y equals 7 times 3 to the x. Perfect. For the 5th root of 243, you can go ahead and just plug that into a calculator, or you could do the tree thing again. So the 243, 3 and 81, 3 and 27, 3 and 9, 3 and 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so go ahead and try this very last one. Okay, so for this one, we should have gotten a was 3 and b is 1/3. This one's a little bit harder, so we had to divide both sides by 3. So we had 9 equals b to the negative second. And then I thought about the fact that negative exponent means it goes to the bottom, so 1 over b squared. I took the square root of both of those. That was 3 equals 1 over b. I went ahead and multiplied the b to both sides to get it out of the bottom. Then divided by 3, so that gave me b equals 1/3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put up the second video.